Okay, welcome. Welcome to another exploration into consciousness with the Earth Wahab. Good to have you here. And today, in preparation for the winter solstice and, going into those autumn, wintry time, everything is slowing down slightly, which gives us a great opportunity to reflect a little bit and bring the mirror back out again. And we've got a couple other girls still coming, but the question, and I will repeat, oh, here we got Lana coming. We have so many mirrors because everything is a reflection of us, right? So we've been working with a mirror principle. I certainly have from the very beginning of my journey, uh, helping me to analyze and sort of find out, explore a little bit what was going on within me by looking at what's going on outside of ourselves. And we were saying before we came on, Tanya was saying that there's a lot of, you probably have seen that too, there's a lot going on with animals at the moment. The way animals start interacting and the way we starting to interact with animals and all different kinds of animals. I saw a cat the other day walk around with a green snake like a necklace. And they were buddies. Every time the cat was coming out, the snake would go round her neck and they would walk around together as two mates. So it's almost like that, interspecies collaboration, communication, cooperation coming through, right? How
Yeah.
is, yeah, have you guys seen stuff along those lines which sort of stands out for you?
I mean, I've seen all kinds of pictures online. I haven't seen anything in person per se. Although I do notice in in my yard there's a lot of songbirds. And especially now, this time of year, as they're migrating into a milder climate, as winter is upcoming, there's just all different kinds of birds that sort of share the space. So I noticed that I've got some vireos and some wrens that come through and sort of like glean every day. They just sort of like make the rounds in the block, and they sort of like go together. I don't usually birds of of a feather stick together, right? But I'm seeing different birds like joining, like two packs of birds joining together to move through the land, which I think is really interesting. Previously, the last few years, I've only seen like one group of birds come through at one time and a different group of birds come through at a different time. So it's almost like they're being less territorial with each
Mhm.
other.
So what does that tell us about us or humanity, where humanity is going? And it's probably not something that we are seeing on the surface, but we all know more than what's happening on the surface, right? So how can we get a learning from those animals?
I mean, I always think that as above, so below, right? The macrocosm is the microcosm. So if we're seeing this in the animal community with birds, then it's going to be going on systemically.
Mm.
And that goes back to the singularity, right? As we transcend through our duality, we open up more fully into that oneness, into that singularity. I had an interesting revelation about that when I was watching the new Dune series on HBO. It's like a prequel. And during the sequence, there's a scene where in the first episode, the daughter of one house and the daughter of another house get married, and there's this sort of like golden container that opens on three sides. And as it opens, it contains a pomegranate. and each of them eat from the pomegranate, and that's how they signify their union. And when that goes through in the series, they show this thing opening in the pomegranate in the cold open, in the opening sequence. And what I saw with that was this thing opening, but I saw it also closing. It's almost like the three sides closed and then turned and became two parts, two separate parts. And so that interesting sort of revelation about duality is because the Trinity has been so closed to us energetically, bound in with geometry. So it feels like now there's an opportunity to bring those halves back together and use the combination to bring open the Trinity more fully. And I don't know what that has to do with animals, but I think that sharing and of the singularity of the unity as we're moving into this higher frequency energy is really, important to look at not what divides us, but what makes us similar.
Absolutely. And I love the that you've been using the pomegranate, because the pomegranate is the one that's got lots and lots of seeds in it, right? And if we look at, going back to the singularity, it's like going back to the primordial matrix, which means what? Connecting back to our original DNA, right? So the seeds, sort of symbolizing that upgrade in our DNA, or that planting of new DNA, right? As we are, starting to, appreciate our multidimensionality, and as our levels of awareness are just beginning to heighten more and more. And I think, the mirror goes both ways. We always look at the outside of ourselves, and because this is what we're used to, right? We look in the mirror. So this is how I see myself, by looking in the mirror. Otherwise, you don't really see yourself, what you look like, right? So we're using things on the outside, be it now an animal, or symbols, geometry, whatever, to make sense of ourselves. But now, actually, I'd like to propose to just flip the coin here and then say, okay, so what if we are the mirror? What if we are the mirror? Like think of the 7 directions where, you've got north, west, blah, blah, the whole thing, and you are in the middle. So how does the animal perceive you? And what are you showing to the animal that they are doing, that they are actually co-creating with now, because they are a reflection of us, of humanity, growing and becoming more aware and raising their levels of consciousness. So we can use that mirror principle from both sides. And now it's quite interesting, because if you just take, I was sitting in the garden today, and I'm like, okay, so there's the leaves coming down. We still got quite a few leaves on the trees, and there's this one leaf falling down, and I'm like, oh, you're a reflection of me. What are you telling me? So I was honing on into that leaf to get some information, because it was like coming onto my shoulder here. So it was almost like a nurturing kind of, And then I thought, okay, well, that is interesting. And that's dissecting, the singularity by focusing on that particular leaf. But what if I say now, I am everything, and a leaf is looking at me as everything? So all of a sudden, I became so much bigger, because I just switched the mirror around. The leaf looking at me instead of me looking at the mirror. And I became the tree. I became all the leaves. I became everything, what I was sitting on, the garden and everything. So, but just flipping the coin there and looking at myself as the mirror. created that expansiveness rather than the dissection part of the focus, which is very important as well, but it's quite nice to flip it over. So yeah. So what if what you were saying, Tanya, those behaviors that we are starting to perceive in animals, and probably not everybody will look at that because some people don't even connect to animals, is a reflection of who you have become. And how beautiful is that?
I love that.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had a slightly a pre-chat. We're not stopping with, squirrels and birds and the whales. The next level that comes in then is obviously we're talking about dragons, right? We're talking about what else did we talk about? What did I think you mentioned?
The Sasquatch.
Sasquatches and dinosaurs, So what is that? These are animals or symbols that we have forgotten about, or we know that lived here before, or don't know, just assume it, or dinosaurs, we do know. And why are they coming back into our perception now, into our awareness? But what is going on here? Are they coming back into our awareness? And that's probably something to consider, to look at, to start having a better communion, even though it has to be probably in a sort of a visualization or imaginative process at the moment, connecting to your dragons, connecting to your Sasquatches, and asking questions, speaking to them. Sorry, Tanya, you wanted to.
I was thinking about what Lana was saying earlier about Pete's dragon and the way he phased in and out. And I just finished reading a book series. I guess there's 2 more books to go that aren't published yet. But it really reminded me, it was the Ashes of Chaos, Flames of Chaos, the 9 Realms series. And it really made me think about what was going on previously in the previous Atlantean times, where there's all of these different types of beings that previously had lived in harmony together. And then a being was cast out from higher dimensional energy into the 9 realms, and kind of screwed everything up, right? Started taking the energy from the land for herself, and wanted to control everyone. And the way that these other beings sort of banded together, it sort of reminds me a lot of what I think is clearing out from the collective from Atlantean times. And, allowing ourselves to be aware that other beings that don't look like us, don't look human, or aren't human, have the ability to join in collaboration as well. And we can talk about star people in that way also, right? That there was a fracture at one point of that collaboration between species. So I think, really interesting. I saw the movie Wicked last Friday, and part of the book series of Wicked was the story of the animals, how there were animal teachers and animals were able to communicate and speak. And we see these in the Chronicles of Narnia also. But as the wizard is wanting to control more and more what's going on, he's taking the animals' ability to speak away from them, or making them forget somehow that they have the ability to communicate. So, thinking about the way that these beings, whether they're from higher vibration, higher dimensional realities, whether they're from the past or the future coming in to inform us, I think, you know, as we're going back to that singularity, it's important to integrate all of that information, all of that energy, you know, whether it be from your dog who's just holding space for you for your healing and, you know, taking energetic hits so they don't go to you, whether you're talking about, you know, dinosaurs from the past communicating. I think maybe Jen wants to share some of the things that's come up for her around that. But it feels like now, if we can let go of our fear and step back and see that, hey, we're all in this together, right? That brings the collaboration instead of the fear, which pushes energy away.
I I also feel, and I shared it in the group, I also feel like, you know, the age of Aquarius is now here. So, you know, the summer of love that was in 69, where it was the dawning of the age of Aquarius. That was the summer, in a sense, you know, everything was sparkling, everything was just overflowing with love and bright, right? I mean, that era and those decades, they were just bright. Everything was brightening up also after the Second World Wars and all that. So I kind of felt like the last 60 years now, coming to this age now, were, you know, like the autumn, where everything was just tumbling and going up and down, and we had so much evolution going on, you know, and development, and as we're speaking, even in the animal worlds. And I see it with the birds outside. Every winter we are feeding the birds, and there are some birds that have now learned how to perch on one of the feeders, although that feeder is only for one sort of bird, you see. We give to every bird, but we just, you know, separated the bits so that everybody can get something, right? And it was so funny looking at them. And my dad, he was the hunter, he's like, look at that one now. Now he has even learned how to perch on that feeder, you know, to get something. Can't they just go and pick up from the floor as they used to, you know? So it's even there is an evolution right in front of our face going on. And I really feel that this winter that is now literally coming upon us, although it might not be a harsh one, but we never know, is really the right season to actually go into this introversion again and go into this connection with everything that is around us. And we are much more open for that, even the mainstream, you know, even I mean, honestly, thank you for all the social media and connection that is going on, because that is how we were able to actually bring out more and more of this information. I mean, if we would have switched immediately from the summer to now, it would have been chaos, right? I mean, we needed to go through this phase somehow. And yes, on the animals, it's like I have not currently been picked up on by any animals in a sense, but you know, I'm constant. I clad myself in animals. Okay, I love working with wool. I have now a camel lying on me. I have my lamb shoes on, and it's like I need that connection, even if it's, people would say, you know, it's dead. No, it's not, because it's still alive and I'm cherishing it, you see. So yeah, but I have not been picked up on, and I'm really interested in the dinosaur thingy, just to see where that is linking us to, right?
So I think I love everything that you just said, Sandrine. I think I mentioned last week that I feel this winter that like I've got some shadow or some old shadow work that I need to process through for something that's coming for me early next year. And I'm kind of excited about it. Like, I'm not dreading it. I've really been looking forward to having this period of hibernation through the winter to kind of go within and work through a big clearing that I'm ready to let go of. So I've been really looking forward to that and feeling that in my heart space. And then I did a guided meditation. I know I mentioned this last week, but I'll say it again anyway. I did this guided meditation that I found, and I wanted to test it out before I sent it to a client to work with. And it was, meeting your spirit guides. And the ones that came forward to me in that particular meditation was a snake, and then a bear, and then this dinosaur that looks like a pterodactyl, but it turns out that it's something else. I'll have to not be driving to look up the name of it. But that being's name is Ichapor. And, the snake talked to me a lot about the immediate work that I'm going to be doing and this transformation of sorts that I'll be processing through. And then the bear told me about this period of hibernation and the purpose of that. And then Ichapor was telling me what we would be doing early next year when I come out of hibernation. And it's the second time in the last month that dinosaurs have shown up for me, because maybe 2 weeks prior, I did a reflexology session for me, like a practitioner was working on me, and there were 4 brontosaurus in the room just standing around supporting me and like holding a space of peace in ancient time. And one of the things that I'll be working with Ichapor on, apparently early next year, is this merging of ancient time. So bringing all the time into now. And I think that that is indicative of the age of Aquarius. And I have felt like I wasn't really going to see or experience the energies of the age of Aquarius. Like I didn't really see those coming into play, at least in my bubble of reality, until the spring equinox next year, which kind of would fall into the timeline that Ichapor was describing. So I love how everything just overlays and lines up and synchronizes, because when all of these data points from different events, different meditations, different people match up, it just shows you that like we're not making it up. You can't make this shit up. There's too many things that fall in exactly right. I knew that the tool that I was going to use to process the shadow work, I was going to do the 7 Sacred Seals program from the Gene Keys. I really love the Gene Keys. I love the softness and the heart-based nature and the contemplation that the Gene Keys creates for me. And I started that program last week, and it was all about rainbows and diamonds, which, I've talked about this rainbow diamond plated dragon that has been working with me over the last year. And all the synchronicities, they just line up perfectly. And I think that this winter is going to be really special for people. I know it's going to be special for me, and creating a whole new space to work with early next year. The long share, sorry.
No, fantastic. Thanks for bringing all of this up. I mean, the dinosaurs, when I listen to you talk about the dinosaurs, then it takes me back to the last cataclysm, obviously 66 million years ago. And this could very well be the case. Why they're coming in for you now is because you're working on, again, on restoring the matrix, the false bastardized matrix. So what we need to do, we need to go back quite a while in order to, connect, or there's different ways of connecting to the primordial matrix, and start synchronizing both of them. We're not throwing one out, and because without the algorithms, nobody can get on a bloody plane, or we couldn't even be having this discussion here. So this is not, we're not poo-pooing what we've got, but we're all very much aware of the downfalls of this of the false simulation. And the majority of us, in awareness or unawareness, is working to restore that matrix to its natural primordial state. And yeah, we have to go you know, going back to that sort of time wouldn't surprise me at all.
And that goes right, I think, hand in hand with what we were talking about maybe 2 weeks ago with this balance between creation and destruction, right? Because they work hand in hand with destruction. Like, to create, you destroy to create something new. I mean, it doesn't have to be in a violent, explosive manner, but that, like you were talking about the cataclysm, I think that destruction is an equal part of what we are creating.
Exactly. And you just so beautifully, you know, reiterated that by saying, hey, I'm having some fun now working on my shadows, because lots of shadows are going to come up too, you know. And also, Jen, of course, the thing is, you're not just working on your shadows, you're literally working on the shadows of the collective. Because, you know, we have to start
Exactly
now
right.
perceiving that whatever shadows, whatever, you know, judgments or whatever we're still working on, is we are now literally clearing the collective by holding space. And we talked about this, Tanya, you know, said many times that we are space holders, and this is why we are placed in the specific places that we find ourselves at the moment, because this is where our energetic imprint, our original DNA imprint, purpose, mission is required right now. So yeah. The other thing is, you know, we are going through a time at the moment, talking about clearings, that requires sacred neutral practitioners of the heart, mind, and gut coherence, because there are so many portals opening, portal stargates opening all over the place on the planet. And as those portals are opening, there is an influx of a variety of different levels of frequencies that are coming in. And it's really, really, really important not to go into fear or to go into self-deprivation and think you're falling back, you're falling asleep again, but really acknowledging, oh God, yes, okay, this is what I've prepared for. This is what I'm here for. Because all these energies, beings, bodies without bodies, they will now require our support. How can we support those? We talked about animals, because the animals showing us that interspecies collaboration. But now, of course, and Tanya mentioned it, now we're having all these other energies, all these other species coming in as we're moving into that galactic citizenship. And, you know, Earth becoming that galactic headquarters, basically. This is now, for everyone who's been a healer in this lifetime until now, knowing or unknowing, now we got to extend our space and adjust our boundaries towards that level of commitment. Because it's not just about you and me anymore, and your family, and maybe your neighbors and your mates. This is now, we're stepping into that purpose and mission that we've come here for, to help humanity upgrade. And every single organism that is part of that, be that now the minerals, be that now, you know, because everyone is upgrading with us. And we see that so beautifully reflected in the animal kingdom. And of course, we mustn't forget, we also, as we are upgrading here as the avatar, our ancestors are upgrading with us. All our different fractals and other timelines, dimensions, even galaxies, they are upgrading with us. Our future versions are upgrading with us. So that is the responsibility that we are holding as the avatar on this planet. So let's not lose ourselves in the small little, yes, the dissection is important to look at. You want to look closer, focused, and then remind yourself to open up that focus again, not to get lost in that limiting box. And then I want to say one more thing, which is also a really, really important, and Sandrine, for you in particular, you know, with animals. Let's not forget all those ancient civilizations who have communicated through animal symbolism to us, right? In Peru, you've just been there, or in Turkey. And why did they use animals? Right? Now, what can we learn through that ancient symbolism? Because I think I said that last time, I'm really coming into this understanding that I can't use remember anymore, because we are remembered. There is nothing missing, but we can really turn our decoding capacities on and turn into a Sherlock Holmes, every single one of us, forensic scientists, forensic, whatever these people are called, to really start decoding. So if there is the slightest little synchronicity that comes up, okay, let's look at that. What's the bigger picture on that? Why did they use elephants in Sexy Woman, right? In Peru, the three of them. There's so much. The Orion's belt. I mean, I've watched, what's his face? He's just been to Peru. Robert Grant. I mean, he is a master decoder. The shit that he comes up with the Mona Lisa, and then takes the Da Vinci, the Vesuvian Man, and puts it on top of the last what do you call it? The last Abendmahl. What's that?
Supper.
Supper, exactly. Supper. And it's like, oh my God, this is all fit. That's amazing. And that's literally just taking one thing and making the connections. Nassim Haramein, yeah, another, amazing decoder. And what does he say? Look, pockets of information are there. He took Einstein stuff, Planck stuff, and he just put it together in a new way, right? This is what we need to do now. Focus on. We are okay. Now we are supposed to be, not everyone, of course, but if you so find joy in that, then start decoding, exploration. I mean, that's what we've been doing. We've called it exploration, but I think there's a level of decoding. Decoding is a cool word now. I like decoding, because you take the codes and you put it together, right? And you just make something with it. It's a repurposing, it's a recycling, it's that.
Well, then you need to use recoding, because decoding is you decode it, you take it apart.
Well, you got to take it apart, decode, and then
yeah. So this is what we just said. Every time that you cook, you actually have to take something apart for something new to come out. So every time, you actually, just to nurture yourself, you have to destroy whatever it is, even if you're vegetarian or vegan. I mean, you still have to destroy something. No, because this is something that I was, and I told you about that I made pate with my dad, and I really tried to put, I really tried to honor the animal that I had in front of me, that it was gifted to actually be alchemized into something new, and it tastes marvelous. So yeah, and I even think that it will be happy that it ended up like this.
Absolutely, that is the agreement between the animal. Nobody says slaughter them in a brutal, and way, or abuse them like they do with the chickens or everything. But the agreement between human and animal is for consumption. And of course, it's also not to be forgotten that they have, just like we have a beautiful experience eating them, they have an experience being actually digested through the intestinal tract.
Well, and even made into something new,
Yeah. And of course that same goes for what do you call it, for the vegetarian, because the plant's got is an organism as well, right? So
right.
It's the same thing. So
but I like the whole thing about the recoding, decoding, finding ways back into the symbolism, because that is all that during our trip in Turkey already. You know, I was so exasperated every time that somebody came up this, like, you know, seeing just the imagery of the head of the bull, which is just like our ovaries. You know, it's the female reproductive system that is just represented, and it's represented by the bull because it's the power that it holds. And then everybody was just going nuts about these animals, you know. But it is just what is the most, I mean, look at what is painted on the caverns of from the Stone Age. They didn't paint people. They didn't paint faces of the people. What did they paint? They paint what they saw most and was most symbolic, which is animals. I mean, these little stick figures that sometimes that they, so why would then nobody of the Stone Age people come up and just, you know, paint the profile of his man or his woman or whatever? You see, you only can see in the cave paintings, you only can see animals really clearly depicted with the different shades of their fur and all that, you know. But man is just like a stick figure. So why is that?
Because they didn't have mirrors at the time. They didn't look themselves.
But I can look at you, you know, and then I can paint you. But I mean, they didn't have, I mean, how did they paint the puma heads and the mammoth heads and everything, and the giraffes on the wall? By memory. You don't tell me that you can't, you know. If I look at you like every day, I can also start drawing you, you know, because you're imprinted on my mind.
Oh God. Destroy and uncreate. Destroy and uncreate. No, but also I think there's an element of self-reflection that came with higher levels of awareness, you know.
Sure.
So that and you know, self-reflection is a good thing. It's a very important thing that we have with being conscious beings and being human. And now you're absolutely right to mention that, because I love that, because now it's a matter of going into neutral observation again. I mean, there's time for self-reflection, just like Jen said, you know, hibernation. This is not a time, how we started off, everything's slowing down. We're coming to that pause, that still point, you know. And at the same time, simultaneously, there's the opposite of that too, where we have now fortified our I am to that extent that we are sovereign beings, so we can get back out there again. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and travel or go outside the house even, you know, but it's like taking an interest in what's actually happening in this world. Not for distraction purposes, but sometimes just as a little hint or tick, okay, cool. How can I be a contribution to that? And then of course, how can we look behind the scenes, below the surface of what is being represented here? And this is the coder is coming to the forefront. Let's just call them the coder, Re or D, and then the pattern recognizer. So, you know, because, you know, what is a matrix? What is a simulation? It's a pattern. It's a fabric. It's a woven pattern, you know, and it's time now to just swap that over, like anyone who's knitting knows, and see what's in the back. How have those little threads been connected? There's a knot, there's a knot, there's a knot, there's a knot, there's a correction, which you don't even see in the front of the fabric, right? So you've got to turn it around to see what you call it, the knot, what's that, where it comes together?
Yeah, the selfage, yeah, or
anyway. And that's what this is all about. It's almost like, I'm just thinking, it's like continuously, like having a pullover on and then swapping it every hour. That's the outside. Okay, let's swap it. That's the inside. Now let's look what has to be done and swap it round again, you know?
Yeah, that's a good analogy also for completing a puzzle, right? And what are we in but a deconstructed, reconstructed matrix? And as we deconstruct it, we can take those puzzle pieces and turn them around, and turn them around, and turn them around until we know what fits where.
Yeah. And so, you know what it's like when you do a puzzle sometimes. I mean, I'm like that. I used to do them. And it's so similar, the pattern, right? The cut and everything. And you think, ah, got it, chuck. And you push, and it's like, oh, it's not going.
Oh, no, that doesn't
That
fit
must be
right.
faulty fabrication. Oh, push. And then I even leave it there and I realize, 2 hours later, oh, for fuck's sake, I need that over there. It's
Yeah,
missing here.
that doesn't fit.
Pushing, pulling, no. Surrender is the key. And surrender, as we've talked about many, many times, is not about, running away, letting, everything just drop everything and don't participate anymore, because we are living in a participatory universe, as Nassim would say. So yes, just take
There
out.
you have your puzzles.
Oh,
Yeah.
here we go. What
You got the edges done first, the frame.
yes.
Right. So maybe we have the framework. We just need to fill in the pieces.
I
move them
love it.
around.
Framework, boundary. Yes. Gotta have the boundary first, and then the relationships will come in. All the pieces of puzzles will come in. Exact. Oh, that's a very good. Thanks for showing us that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have another one, which is just because it's my favorite.
The Muppets. Oh, very good.
It's because I have the blur on.
Oh, fantastic.
I kept that one in the back of the closet. It's from 1978.
I love it.
Oh, that's actually a good point you're making there. Just mentioning, I don't know if you guys find that as well, that, like we said early on, lots of people just, those coders, they find the clues from all different times and, events and everything, and then putting them together anew, in a way that it has never been put together. And like you said, 78, it's like the same with us. Do you find that, certain things, of course, you might have done ages ago, and you're finding these things, and all of a sudden it makes sense to have them, and
That's why you kept them.
why you kept them, and they fit perfectly into that weave that you're putting together right now. But this is also, I think, that reflection time and retrospection time is a good idea, to look back on your life in this particular lifetime without getting hung up what you did 500 million years ago, but really just look now. It's like, okay, what did I do then that I don't do now, or that I would like to do now, maybe different than I used to do it then, And if you can't remember, just think of the energies. When was I? 3 occasions when I was obliviously happy that I can still remember. What did I do then? Who was with me then? And how can I not construct that, but then take the energy of it and say, okay, so this is the energy that made me feel that. And then how can I use that kind of energy and create something now that matches that energy? It's the same as when we're saying like creations for the future. It's like, okay, just get the energy of it. You don't need to know what the how is, but you just follow that energy, meaning that whatever comes into your life, if it doesn't match the energy that you know that you want to receive, then say no, right? And even if it sounds completely idiotic, what comes in and it just lights you up, say yes to that. And that is really, 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 really important at the moment, because it might be you having a dream about dinosaurs, right? Or a dream about a dragon, or a conversation with somebody about a dragon, and all of a sudden you light up and it's like, oh my God, this is so fun, talking about dragons. That's an authentic feeling from the heart, right? That the gut and the brain, you know, that really lights you up. And when something lights you up, once something catches your attention, that's worth decoding, recoding, exploring, and looking into. And this is again what Sandrine was saying. It's so beautiful that we have this internet now, because sometimes you just look stuff up. Like, for instance, I found out the other day that I have a strong connection to the Antarctica. Now, okay, cool, great. I can get that because every time I talk about the Antarctica, you know, I get very excited. And I was even thinking, okay, I want to go and do an expedition there. But then that's limited information that I have about it. So I thought, okay, let me just watch a couple of YouTubes, right? And then you just listen, you just pick up, and certain things stand out, right? And then you just make up. MSU, make shit up. You just make stuff up. Okay, so I've got, you know, certain ideas about this and da da da. And then you weave that story. And all of a sudden, what happens is things start to find you that confirm what you made up, because you didn't really make it up. You just brought it back into your awareness, right? And all of a sudden,
Go ahead, Martina.
and all of a sudden you're doing a full-on dragon activation, you know, just as if by magic. Jen, go for it.
I've been listening the last few days to Dolores Cannon's book on Nostradamus, the first volume, which it's been so long since I've read it that it just hit me different. Because, you know, the higher your level of awareness, the different level of things that you'll pick up on. But I have found it really enlightening, the information in it. But one of the things that Nostradamus was saying in there, as he was talking about the sorry, I just walked in the door, so Roscoe's excited, talking about animals. He was talking about Atlantis and how Atlantis was not one location, it was really all over the world, but the Atlanteans were all telepathically connected. So like, it was like one civilization, but it was everywhere. And, you know, he was honing in on some of the locations of it. And one of the largest places was Antarctica, under Antarctica.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks, Jen. It makes a lot of sense why they're so protective and why nobody can go there, and you know, under the false pretenses that you know, there's nothing there. There's a lot there. There's too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists or anything, so I don't really care what they talk about, what's on top and what I'm interested in, what's underneath, what's my connection, and what can I do in order to use that information to change this. And we're talking about habitats earlier on, the destruction of habitats, right, with regards to animals. And yes, I mean, lots of people talk about destruction of the earth, which of course we know it's you know, natural cycles. But having said all that, there is a new earth emerging. We call it new, and it is new because, you know, whatever we had in the very beginning was probably less bastardized on many levels, but we are now at the level of consciousness that we have never been before, not even in Atlantean or Lemurian times. You know, so this has never been before what we're going into now, or what we are already into now, trying to sort of track back. So so yeah, I think it's a good question to ask yourself, what particular place, and start with one, what particular place am I attracted to and why? And then do the Google search and start looking at what people say. Some stuff you won't like, some people, what they talk about, and the others you will. Look at the symbolism that comes up, and then start making your own little weave, your puzzle, and put it together and stuff. Because the thing is, once we start doing that, we find other people who resonate with that. Every single one of us has an idea about the dragon. Every single one of us has learned about dragon energy, dragon DNA. We all have. Lots of people have dragon DNA in their DNA.
I think, we all also have a dragon part of ourselves that maybe it seems separate, but once we integrate it, it just is part of us. It's part of those soul shards that we're drawing back.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. And, even in the beginning, if people think, oh, this is such crap, and, who do they think they're dragons? And even if it pisses you off, if it triggers you, then that's an invitation. If you don't even hear it, then that's fine. But if it triggers you, it's an invitation for you to just say, okay, well, maybe I should connect with some dragons. In whichever way or form, even if you just watch a dragon movie, that's a perfect way of starting, and then see what gets triggered whilst you're doing it. And I'm just talking about dragons because we talked about animals, but obviously it's a slightly different energy. But anyway, we're jumping, from throughout various dimensions here.
They're doing a new live action movie of How to Train Your Dragon. I saw a preview for it when I was at the movie this weekend. So yeah, with using the animatronic puppetry and animation of the dragons animated, and then the live action of humans. So integrating that story in a new way.
Exactly. All this soft disclosure, right? Yeah. That's why we must watch TV. We must go to the cinema.
Do we train the dragons or do they train us? I don't know. I think it goes both ways.
Good question. And I suppose there's a lot to be learned about our psionic skills when we watch a movie like that, right? Because they're very much all these witchy craft movies, not all of them obviously, but there's a lot to be learned from those. A lot of little hints and tips and tricks. Yeah.
So looking at animals and the way they work with us, there are more animals also that are becoming emotional support animals. Now people have emotional support chickens. I know, that sounds funny. I was watching HGTV, Christina in the Country, and she has chickens at her Tennessee house. And she's like, I'm going to take this chicken with me. So she gives the chicken a bath and she carries him around on all of the places she was going that day.
Amazing.
She's her little cuddly emotional support chicken that she just carries just like a handbag under her arm. That's pretty funny. Yeah.
But I think this is as well how I think the animals look at us and what do they learn from us. I think that wouldn't say they're self-reflected, obviously, but they definitely they seem to have more consciousness than they had before in terms of feelings and, perception of how the owners are feeling. I know there's a majority of it is impulses, but I think there's more to it now. Wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot with these healing service dogs, who are wanting to do Reiki. Look at my previous dog, Roxy, and she was a great Reiki healer. I had given her Reiki attunements, and she would just, go up to someone and lean against them or put her paw or just hold space. And when she passed away, I realized how much space she was holding because it was like an octave dropped out, and I had to fill that up. energetically, understanding, oh, wait a minute, I'm capable of holding this space. She taught me how. I wasn't doing it because she was. I didn't need to do it. But now she's, transitioned, and that really made me step up to a higher frequency, wider perspective of how to hold space. So
Beautiful.
they teach us, we don't even know we're being guided and taught.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think more and more animals are participating in healing. Now, there's all kinds of, horse therapy that's been
Oh,
going on for years and years and years, talking about the horses and the way we collaborate with them. They've done a lot for us that we don't even understand or know. I was my husband and I were watching this old TCM movie, Turner Classic Movies. It was called Hollywood Party, and it was to showcase the talents of Jimmy Durante. It was from 1934, and so Jimmy Durante is talking about reincarnation. And who believes in reincarnation? I believe in reincarnation. I was there in 1776. Paul Revere. So they go to this shot of Paul Revere riding the horse, and they zoom to the horse's face, and it's Jimmy Durante with his big nose. Like he was reincarnated as the horse, not Paul Revere, which you would think, like, oh, he doesn't look like Paul Revere, that's some other guy. And then they zoomed to the horse, and it was him. I thought, wow, that was pretty progressive. Hi, Marbles.
Very much. Oh,
That was
look.
pretty progressive for 1934. And it was in jest, of course, but it, that invited me to open up to that space of, right, what are those timelines and time streams that I was incarnated in an animal body, or that I could shape shift between animal and human.
Absolutely. And that, Tanya, that also reminds me again, it reminds me of what you said early on with the species, the influx of the species, and the collaboration of it, because why couldn't that have happened a couple of years ago? Because humanity wasn't ready from a neutral perspective. We had to really work on our programming and conditioning to get to a sacred neutral space where we're not emanating all those negative emotions that would not be bearable for the majority of the species to come through. And I think, you mentioned animals as healers. Why are they such amazing healers? Is because they have no judgment, right? They have a total neutrality. You could call it an open heart or whatever you want to call that. They have no point of view. They're just there holding space, as you say. And I think this is also, as humanity is opening up to probably a better understanding of that, or, a certain level of mastery, that communication and cooperation between animals is possible. So it's one thing is always connected to the other. They can only evolve because we have evolved. We can only, so it's all that shows how important humanity is, how important we are living on this planet, right?
I remember a conversation a number of years ago from Jeffrey Hoppy, where he was talking about, as he's channeling, talking about the previous way that humans worked with animals. He was talking about being, on the other side of the veil, crossed over. And previously, there weren't a lot of animals there. And now there's a lot of animals, because as we are growing, they are growing, as they're becoming more open and more conscious to that, to what Earth needs. And they're also supporting humans in a way that, you know, previously they weren't doing. So I thought that was a really interesting comment. I can't remember when. That was many years ago when I was doing a lot of listening to Jeffrey. But yeah, I mean, that was starting in that awakening time from 2000 forward, where we're triggered to wake up at the start of this Aquarian solar cycle to set our intentions. And that's the animal collective soul, right? The dog, the sacred Felicidae, the dogs and the cats, coming from, you know, Sirius. Also holding, you know, the ability to share in the journey with, you know, I mean, different dogs have different levels of awareness, but what I notice is some dogs are part of the group soul and some dogs are very, very definitely individual souls. And I think those animals that come to people who are awakened and aware are going to be the individual souls because they have a specific purpose, a specific mission.
I mean, I've been waiting for years for Milo to make me a coffee in the morning. Not happening.
No opposable thumbs.
Milo is never even going to do that, even if he could. Are you kidding me?
Your turn.
Milo, seriously.
Okay. No, I keep dreaming. You never know. But then again, we've got the artificial intelligence coming in for that, right? We can get some help with that little robot.
At the San Francisco airport, there's already an AI coffee station where you just, you know, it's like an automat where you go and it makes your little cappuccino or your latte and puts it right out.
But when I was in Dubai, I think last year, we went to those future show. There was a future in this museum or something, and they had one of those. And of course, everyone wanted a coffee, and that thing did not work. It's like a nightmare. And they were all like, "Oh my God, thank you."
Performance anxiety. I mean, the poor thing.
But it was exciting.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the electronics too, and the way that we have the ability to communicate, right, with not only our physical bodies on a cellular level, you know, the plasma energy, but the electromagnetic energy as well is energetically moldable, I think is a good word.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. I mean, I've just seen one of the graphs actually. You got okay, let me see if I get this right. So the electromagnetic energy is perpendicular to the wave. And then we have the longitudinal energy that is transverse to the wave. And I stand, of course, under correction, but anyone can look at this. Isa just, I think it was in one of her Facebook posts, where she put that graph in and made that distinction between the electromagnetic and the longitudinal, because there's a lot of talk. You hear longitudinal wavelengths a lot at the moment. And the longitudinal one, if I get this correctly, is the sound wave. Yeah. So, and of course, the sound's coming in now. So the electromagnetics are changing as well as that wave and, you know, adapts. And I don't have enough background, but I just want to throw this in as I do everything. I'm a seeder, right? So look it up if that is something that you guys want to, you know, explore. And then please do come on to the show and give us a proper explanation for that. But as I said, there is that, so look that up, because I knew that was significant on some level, because I can feel there's a significance. I'm glad you mentioned that now. But more you know, exploration needs to go into this. What does it actually mean? The longitudinal wave versus the transverse. transverse wave. I can't even say that. It's the VVs. Yeah. So it will change. Yeah. Because I think what just what comes out of my thing now is like, as we are no longer dependent on the gravitational pull, the electrics are changing and the magnetics are changing at the same time. Something like that. It has to do with gravity.
Well,
Because
I think too, you know, talking about what you were talking about earlier, the test that you took and how he was saying there's too much electromagnetic
Mm.
energy, right?
Mm.
That can be recoded to a higher frequency energy that doesn't affect the physical body like in a negative way, right? So you
I
can
love
use like shungite, the
Chungai, I've
crystal,
got it in my coffee machine, yeah.
right? So you can put that near your router also.
Mhm.
You can use selenite,
Mhm.
right? And quartz, of course, is a great stone for holding the space of higher frequency energy. And then, so then the waves that come out from your router or from your computer, even from outside, from the electric wires, you know, you can use crystals to help mitigate that energy to make it kinder to the human body.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, frankly, I personally don't see the impact anyway, but I took it on board and I got myself a grounding mat. Never had one of those. So yes, what's that? You're beautiful. Yeah, rose quartz. Lovely. Yeah, I got
Your heart.
shungaites in my coffee container where the water goes in.
Mhm.
So yeah, but this is a good one to explore a little bit further. Of course, I haven't explored it enough, but I think that's really important. And I think the gravity and the plasma is connected too, and the black holes, because you know the black hole is what creates the gravity. And as we are starting to work with the plasmic energy more, and our plasmic bodies, etheric bodies, are sort of expanding, then gravity is no longer such a importance as it used to be. Something along those lines. So decode that, please, people, if you wish, if you want. I just love throwing shit in and not exactly. But I know energetically, I know I'm onto something, but I haven't explored it exactly.
Need some more flushing out.
Need some more flushing out for you guys to flush it out, because that's not what I do. I just seed ideas. What is Andreen saying?
More ideas.
Blushing or flashing?
Flushing. Blushing, you can blush as well if you
No,
want.
flushing it out or flashing it out, putting
Oh,
more flash on it.
blushing, anything. Any ink. Go for it.
Any. I'm now going to paper tissuing, and gonna prepare for my course.
Thanks for being
Great to see you, Sandrine.
You know that tonight is the heart conference, but apparently we're going to get the link as well sent.
Okay, well, we go for the replay then. Yes.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Love you.
All
Sandrine.
Love you guys. Speak to you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Don't kill any more animals, okay?
Me? I'm not the killer in this house.
I'm just kidding.
That's not me.
I know, you just eat them or wear them.
And I love them. Ciao.
Oh, God. Fantastic. I have to say, when we were in Turkey, there was a lot of vegetarians there, you know, and Sandrine and I, when it came to people said, oh, do you want to try some liver? Yeah, it was only me and Sandrine. We were eating all these things, right? And big knuckles of something, you know, goat knuckles. I was like, yeah, bring it on.
It was at one bus stop station where it was a non-programmed stop in a sense, because they said, oh, we can also eat here if you like, if it suits you. And then we went into the canteen and they had these big plates of whatever in front of us, and I was like, we have to try this and we have to try that. We were the only ones who actually tried the
Yeah, we tried the
meat thingy things, and everyone else was still eating on their cheese pita. I have no idea how these people were ever going to a toilet again, but okay. They ate for 15 days cheese pita.
Do you remember? I was missing a knife, and I said to Guy, "Can you bring me a knife?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." Knife like this.
Go on from the kitchen block, you know?
Yeah, no, like this, not like this.
Oh, that was so fun.
Exactly.
All right,
Good.
When we were in Egypt, we had a breakfast buffet every day when we were staying near the pyramid. And there was what I thought was like ground beef, fried ground beef. So I took some of that and I started eating it. I'm like, this isn't ground beef. And the guy who did the breakfast, Alibaba was his name, came over. He's like, oh, I see you like my camel liver. I'm like, oh, it's camel liver. Okay. It was actually really good.
Yeah. Oh, I would have
The way
tried
he
that.
prepared it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Really
love
frying.
frying that. But also I grew up with, honoring the animal as a whole, and really, I didn't catch the rabbit, but take off the skin, open it up, take everything out. And in those days when I was young, we in Austria we had chickens. They didn't come completely cleaned up, there was everything was in it. The gallbladder was in it, the liver was in it, the stomach was in it. So you had to take everything out and make sure. I remember my mom always said, make sure that green thing doesn't open up because otherwise everything is ruined. It was the gallbladder, right? If that green would have spilled, then we could not have eaten the liver and the stomach, whatever was in there. But nowadays, it's like, I remember when Emma was smaller, 7 or something, and I bought a chicken here in the supermarket, and I just asked her to salt it and put spices on it, and she was like, because they have no idea. They don't even know what a real chicken looks like unless they, watched a movie or something. It's that disconnection. What does Lana say? I believe the green stuff.
Will make everything bitter.
Yes, that's right. That's right. The gallbladder, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. But we even opened up the stomach and cleaned it out and then ate that too. It's actually quite nice. I've got here.
Yeah, I think that just shows how disconnected people are from their
Mm.
food, from what they're eating, right? You go in, you don't get a whole chicken that you have to defeather,
Yeah.
and clean. You get a rotisserie chicken.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
already done, which is quite convenient. But I think that disconnection from the land and the preparation is, I think, causes people to maybe take things for granted, right? There's not the gratitude and the honoring that, if everything is fast and comes to you already done.
I mean, it's that disconnect from natural living, isn't it? And when we talk about awakening or, self-realization or, it's really getting back to nature. And at the same time, not in a way of going back to the Middle Ages, because we have technological upgrades coming in on the other hand as well. But it's that, as you say, that gratitude and that honoring of nature, and that natural living doesn't mean you have to live on a farm. It just means you're not sitting in an office from 9 to 6, right? Behind a computer. You actually do a job or a career or a work that expands you, that is joyful. You're not just doing it in order for you to survive or to be able to buy material stuff, that kind of thing. I think it's, that honoring and getting back to nature is the realization what is actually that entanglement with the material world. And there has to be, we have to wake up to a disentanglement, to a letting go of that materialism, because otherwise we're not going to understand what it means to live with an etheric body. You know, these are two huge concepts, which, you know, I'm just going to throw out there, and some people will understand, oh, yes, that's right. How can you have an etheric body and still be totally entangled and attached to materialism?
Mm.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen, because as soon as you start understanding the plasma body, the etheric body, you have to understand the multidimensional existence that we're leading. And as soon as you understand the multidimensional existence, a Gucci bag may no longer be something you need to work for in order to afford. I'm not saying you can't have it. Of course you can. But, you know, the value system is gonna change as we step into that multidimensional understanding and experience. It doesn't take away money for, you know, money will change as well. Nobody says, you know, you can't be abundant, but you're going to start realizing that there is so much more to abundance than money or materialistic stuff. And that's that letting go, I suppose, letting go of that control and that fear and that safety, because, you know, that need for safety and everything is also on some level an ignorance in terms of, or a disconnection from source, right? It's more a disconnection from source. Because if you know that you're connected to source, then you have a completely different attitude towards receiving and giving, because you know you're never, ever going to run out of anything.
Get what we need.
We get what we need if we are willing to receive it. And that receiving is all, you know, connected to the programming. We've had about 10 different subjects in this, right? Sorry, I've been jumping around a bit, but, you know, you guys get it. There is so much connected to all of this. And
And these are all things that are coming up now for review. Everything is coming up for review. The way we live, the way we look at the world, the way we interact with the animal community, the way we interact in the multidimensional etheric space, right? All of this is exciting and new as we review, you know, what worked in the past and what's not working now. How are we changing?
Yeah, and that source connection is, for so many people, it's just a spiritual concept, but you can ground that in on so many levels, you know. And part of that, yes, we're living in a tangible world. So, and yes, we need to have a space where we feel comfortable and our bodies feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, that fear of losing it, that is something that really limits us and holds us back. And we talked about animals today, so an animal doesn't have that, right?
They're just always living in the moment.
Exactly. That in the moment, in the present moment living. So, you know, it's that self-reflection and conscious thinking is such a tremendous attribute that we have. And at the same time, we are using it against us so much, so often, right?
Yeah, so many people are stuck spinning in the head with worry, with fear. I think part of that is when the chakras aren't fully open, that information and energy just bounces back. And so, you know, you get in a loop on it. When those lower chakras are open, you can let go of what you don't need down to the Akashic record of Earth and draw it back when you need it.
Yeah. That's the veils of the programs, and all that stuck energy that doesn't allow all that beautiful plasmic energy that's coming through the solar flares. And that when it does hit us, it just whoosh, opens up all the shadows. It brings up all the crap because we need to clear and cleanse our, energetic system in order for the new to come in. But
I
yeah,
think there's a lot of old programming deconstruction that's happening too throughout collectively.
oh God, yes,
As
yes.
that gets cleared, it's easier for us to connect to our direct connection to source.
Yeah. And of course, as we always say, it's an individual journey. It always starts with yourself, to begin with, and then learn about the levels of sovereignty so that you become your own battery, you become your own self-contained individual that is not separate from anyone else, but uniquely defined and fortified together with everyone else connected to the source. Like the tree we were talking about last time, the tree, we all have the same trunk and there we all branching out into our uniqueness, diversity, rather. Yeah. Yeah. And it's all happening. We're doing it, and there's so much amazing work that's being done on this planet. And the stars are with us, the constellations, and it's just so fucking exciting. And I'm truly so appreciative of everyone I know in my life, and I've got so much gratitude and honor for every single one of you guys and the people that I know and have met, and also the ones that triggered the shit out of me when I was younger. So much gratitude for those too, because I wouldn't be sitting here talking shit if they wouldn't done what they did. So, it's all good. It's all good. Do we have some closing words? How are we doing?
Well, I think just with this season of honoring and with the concepts of honoring and blessing and thanking, right? With Thanksgiving last week, we all look at what we're grateful for. And so I invite myself and everyone to just, through this holy season, to look at what, the people who've made you who you are, the things that have made you who you are, and thank and honor and bless that, and just feel that love and gratitude for everything that's going on in your life, whether it's a hard lesson or whether it's an expansion, right? Those things go hand in hand.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else wants to chip in? Cool.
What can I say?
Anna,
It's
what can
beautiful.
you
It's
say?
beautiful. Everything you talked about is just fantastic. I mean, I'm grateful for in the moment for everything that is in the moment, and I don't have to wait for the end of the year to say I'm grateful, or for Thanksgiving season to say I'm grateful, because then I'll miss the moment that something happened in that moment that I didn't say I'm grateful for at the end of the year, So I'm grateful in every moment that stuff happens, and I'm saying, okay, thank you for the beautiful moment, or whatever it is in the moment that I'm really appreciating. So it's all
Beautiful.
good. It's all good.
Thank you, Lana.
Yeah.
I think Jen might be feeding the cat at the moment. That's okay.
No, the cat.
There she is.
I was taking a break though, and sitting in the sun sipping my tea. I just didn't want to have to hold my phone up for my video, but I was going off of what Tanya and Lana were just talking about.
course, you know, we focus on gratitude over the month of November anyway, because people are thinking of Thanksgiving, but we often talk about how the best way to reset your energy is to get back into a state of gratitude. And I have been feeling that on a cellular level the last several weeks, just how grateful I am for my body, for the ability to have the experience in a human body, and for all the magic that surrounds me when I keep myself in that frequency of the magic. And so just a very deep gratitude, even for getting to experience people on different levels of awareness, because sometimes it reminds me how very far I've come and how much I've enjoyed the ride.
Hmm.
Very
Beautiful.
good.
Thank you.
One
Thank
of the other things I want to say that I'm grateful for, and Jen said something that triggered me, is that I'm just grateful that in the moment, like for example, the holiday season here, the Thanksgiving, I'm just grateful to be able to spontaneously give, you know, because these are the times when you get together with family members and stuff like that, and you're able to make something and bring it along, and it's spontaneous. It's not a planned thing or anything like that. And this is one of the things I'm so grateful for, to be in this body right now and say, you know, I can create this and spontaneously bring it with me for the gathering. And this opportunity, if I wasn't in body, I wouldn't have that chance to do that.
you.
And, you know, and that's something that I'm tremendously grateful for. I mean, how long are we in the body? We're not living like 200, 300, 500 years or 1,000 years. We're only here for a short period of time, and there's so much we want to fill in during this short period of time. And it seems like every day seems one day less to be able to be appreciating our time here, you know. And so I'm just grateful for tasting something like pumpkin pie
That's
this
great.
time of year.
And I'm grateful for y'all.
Oh,
Very,
thank
very, very
you.
grateful for you all.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Fabulous.
but those things like snow, you know, you're grateful for snow, because if you're not in body, you can't really come and play with it or enjoy it or feel that coldness of the snow or whatever, you know.
Mm.
I'm grateful for water, you know, like when I take showers, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm grateful for this water to wash me clean, you know.
Mm.
Interesting things.
Yeah,
The
I think
little things.
making it the daily practice.
Yeah. And then when you make it a daily practice, it becomes so natural for you to be just grateful. And when you're in that grateful state naturally, your experience becomes more pleasant on the planet. You don't experience those hardships that others seem to be experiencing or expressing to you that they're experiencing. Your reality shifts into a more pleasant reality. And that's one of the things I'm grateful for too.
Yeah.
Well, cheers to creating a more pleasant reality. I say cheers to that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thanks, girls, for being here. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
Thank
contributions.
you.
And we've got, I think, 2 or 3 more before Christmas, right? Whatever that is, we will be in touch again. All right. Replay's going out soon, yeah?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Bye.